a year. They say you can't do that in this era of the virus, but 3M is up 1.3%. Pepsi also reported a nice big profit today. The CEO says that Pepsi is preparing for ups and downs as states reopen. Nice gain for the stock, up 1%. Here's what I'm looking for. Waffle House. I think they're usually the first to reopen after a catastrophe. What's the news on Waffle House, Lauren?
Yeah, they're a barometer for how bad a catastrophe really is. So this coronavirus is their biggest test yet because they shut so many of their restaurants and they're open again in Georgia. How did they do that? Well, tables 6 feet apart, no more plastic menus, literature everywhere that they're cleaning and sanitizing, trying to make customers feel comfortable again. So Waffle House back open in some parts of the country. Are diners actually going in and sitting at the counters and at the tables? It depends on the Waffle House that you look at. One in Atlanta, the manager had said, well, there were so many news crews outside because it was such a big deal that we opened that might have scared some of the diners away.
Those news people, I tell you. Right, thanks, Lauren. Senator Bill Cassidy, Republican, Louisiana, joins us now. Frequent guest on the program, and a welcome guest too. Mr. Senator, welcome back. Good to see you again tonight.
Yes, Stuart, thank you for having me.
I hope I don't have a bone to pick with you, because he's smiling, keep smiling. The last time you were on the show, you told us about a $500 million plan to help state and local governments. Fine, but you're not going to bail out Illinois' pension plan, are you? The money's not going to be able to solve problems that existed before the virus, is it?
Absolutely not. That would be a mistake. We cannot bail out unfunded accrued liability, irresponsibly accumulated and not paid for. What we can do is help support cities, states to support essential community services needed so that restaurants, small businesses can open their doors. One example, if your state, your city, say your city depends upon tourism, sales tax, airplane fees, bed tax, and all of a sudden it goes away. How are they going to pay the sanitation workers, fire, and police necessary for the city to return? Who will go into a restaurant if garbage is in the street in front of it with rats running around the garbage? Nobody. These billions we put into small businesses will be wasted because of lack of city services. We need to support the ecosystem, those city services that allow the small business to reopen its doors.
Fair enough. Understood. Thank you, Senator. All right. Now, the governor of Louisiana has extended the stay-at-home order for your state, I think, till May the 15th. That's, I perceive a real pent-up demand to get out there, go back to work. Maybe it's spring fever, I don't know, but there is that pent-up demand. And I see a lot more traffic here in New York and various places around the country. Why the delay until May 15th in Louisiana?
I don't have the data he's looking at, but I can look and see. I do advocate a certain approach that I think would allow a more rapid opening, still balancing public health. If you look at hotspots, there are hotspots within hotspots. It's not the entire New Orleans region, for example. It is certain census tracts within that region that have more cases than others. If you go into those census tracts, maybe even go apartment by apartment and find out who is infected, test everybody. If they are infected, Congress has given states money to quarantine, to provide medical and food services. Those folks would do better because you're checking on them every day, but they are not transmitting the virus to others. This is what South Korea has done, what Germany is doing. It allows the economy to reopen sooner while balancing that physical, financial health aspect. I think that's the plan we should be implementing.
Do you sense that there is this pent-up demand to get outside and also go back to work, and that just maybe we're beginning to open the floodgates and people will flood through any opening they can? I get that sense. What about you?
I do too. An elected official friend of mine calls me, says, hey, Bill, hey, listen, man, I don't care what anybody says. People are starting to go out. You can look at traffic. You can look at people walking around parks. They may say it's closed, they're out there. And so I think we need a certain rationale. If we can go to an area that we know is a hot spot, and we can identify it as a hot spot within a hot spot, I'm okay with that. On the other hand, I'm looking around and there's nobody in my neighborhood who's sick. I'm starting to think this isn't true. Then the officials lose credibility. I do think we need to be more targeted, but out here allow more freedom.
Got it. Senator Bill Cassidy from Louisiana, Republican. Thank you, Bill. Mr. Senator, I'm sorry. I'm being a bit familiar there. Mr. Senator, thanks very much for joining us. Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you.
I've been in America too long. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi considering a new plan to help people pay their bills. Watch this.
Others have suggested a minimum income for a guaranteed income for people. Is that worthy of attention now? Perhaps so.
That is the Universal Income Scheme. Remember that? It's reappeared. What would Newt Gingrich think about that idea? Well, we'll find out because he's on the show. 2 more people come forward backing claims made by Joe Biden's accuser, Kennedy, on that next. And President Trump, well, as you know, he's vetoed the Florida governor at the White House. If they speak publicly or on camera, we'll bring it to you real fast, and we will be back with more.
Thinking about getting healthier, sleeping better, or losing those last few pounds? Think Noom. Noom is a totally new approach that uses psychology and small goals to help you make lasting change. Backed by science, Noom shows you the why behind your decisions and habits and gives you the tools to change them for good. So get started today at Noom.com. Noom.com. Change your thinking, change your habits, change for good. With Noom.
Roses are red. Social distancing makes us blue. Can't be with Mom this Mother's Day? Don't worry, we've got you. Maybe you can't give Mom a hug, but you can send flowers from the Books Co. Books, that's short for bouquets. Books are responsibly sourced from some of the world's finest eco-friendly farms, even farms on the side of volcanoes, so flowers stay fresher, longer. Did you know that flowers and plants have been proven to reduce stress and boost productivity? Now that we're spending more time at home, how about a little self-love to brighten your day and your space? Big savings mean you can send farm fresh flowers, plants, and gift bundles to all the moms in your life. Your mom, a soon-to-be mom, your wife, your grandma, a dog mom, or treat yourself. Send smiles no matter the miles.
Visit Books.com/FoxBusiness. That's BOUQS.com/FoxBusiness and enter code FoxBusiness for 25% off your entire order. That's code FoxBusiness at Books.com/FoxBusiness. Right now, it feels like the world's standing still. But if you look to the land, it's a whole different story. From farms to backyards, wheels are turning, seeds are being planted, animals are getting fed, grass is growing, and families are giving their all to the soil. Because no matter how uncertain things get, the land never stops. So to all those linked to the land, John Deere says thank you. We're here for you because we all run together. Nothing runs like a deer.
Cars for Kids needs your old vehicle. Maybe it runs, maybe it doesn't. We want it and we need it. Your old car, truck, or motorcycle can help with a new start for a kid in need when you donate to Cars for Kids. Here's how our program works. Donated cars are auctioned off and the proceeds go directly to support kids who've dropped out of high school. The CAN Academies are dropout prevention and recovery experts with a primary focus on reading and thinking. The CAN Academies have been in business since 1985 and have 14 campuses. So please donate today and help save a life. Here's what you get. Free towing, a tax deduction, and a $50 Visa gift card is our way of saying thank you. You also get the satisfaction of knowing you're helping get a kid back in school. Cars for Kids makes it easy. To donate or find out more, please call 866-835-5437. That's 866-835-5437. Or carsforkids.org. That's carsforkids.org. And remember, write off the car, not the kid.
Investors, NRIA is making accommodation to help at this time. Under the stimulus law, you can now borrow up to $100,000 without penalty from your 401k or IRA and invest. NRIA is extending a 10% monthly payout from our real estate-backed Class A buildings fund. Maintain your 401k or IRA stocks for the market rebound and diversify with real estate and 10% cash flow. Call 201-210-2727. Offered by or selling securities only made by our private placement memorandum. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. Nationalism Realty Development Firm. Borrow from the fixed income bond portion of 401k IRA fund. See us at NRIA.net.
Dr. Fauci says that reopening too soon could hurt the economy and hurt us all. Maybe that's why we've turned a little around on the market. We were up 400, now we're up 68 for the Dow Industrials, and we're still down on the Nasdaq. Look at Gap. They say they don't have enough money to last more than 12 months if these store closures continue. Nonetheless, the stock is up 8%. Maybe it's good that they've got enough money to last 12 months. Up 7% now. Kennedy is with us. Kennedy, here's what I want to talk to you about. 2 more people have come forward to corroborate claims by the accuser against Joe Biden on a sexual assault allegation. He's not saying anything. Journalists are not asking him any questions. I think that's just terrible. It's a double standard, and I don't like it. What say you?
I think it's a miscarriage, and it's utter hypocrisy. Because what we need, regardless of who is being accused, how powerful they are, and what the stakes are for their future and our investment in it, we need a uniform set of standards for vetting stories when victims come forward to talk about their experiences. And, you know, the left has very surgically used the Me Too movement to try and do some real damage to political careers of people they consider enemies, and that's not okay, because then you're just using victims as pawns, and that's not only incredibly offensive and insensitive, it's also counter to the movement and why it started in the first place.
Well, I mean, Joe Biden's got a problem with this allegation, but so too, I would suspect, is whomsoever is his vice presidential pick, because he says it's going to be a woman. Well, what will that woman, when she is selected, say about this sexual assault allegation against Joe Biden? I mean, it's a dual problem here, isn't it?
Well, it is. It's also, I don't think, the most politically swift thing to back yourself into a corner and really, you know, cut out 50% of the potential VP candidates before you've secured the nomination. But let's say it is a woman, and he's got a number of women to choose from across the political landscape. I hope whoever it is, whether it's Stacey Abrams or Michelle Obama or Amy Klobuchar, I hope they sit down with him and really ask him, and you know, and think of it as though Tara Reid, who's come forward with these claims, think of her as your sister or your daughter or, you know, your best friend. And how would you have that conversation with someone that has been accused of inappropriately touching someone in this sort of sexual misconduct? And you can't have a different set of standards for people you don't like versus people that you do. The basis of our criminal justice system is equal protection under the law.
Absolutely. Let's change the subject, shall we? Kennedy? Yeah, we're going to change the subject. I want to show you and listen to President Bill Clinton. Here's what he said at the State of the Union message in 1996. Roll tape.
The era of big government is over, but we cannot go back to the time when our citizens were left too thin for themselves. We must go forward as one America, one nation, working together to meet the challenges we face together.
Okay, just isolate what he said at first.
Okay.
The era of big government is over. Well, it may have been then, but it sure is. It's not now. Everybody's a big spender these days. Now, you're a libertarian. You can't like this.
No, I hate it. It's awful. And it's something, you know, you talk about a uniform set of standards. We need a uniform set of standards when it comes to politicians taking money from us. I mean, there's a reason that people say taxation is theft, because they take money and then they spend it irresponsibly on giant corporations, and they get in bed and have these cronyist orgies, and we're the ones who suffer the consequences. And it's wrong, and we know when you cut taxes and cut spending, that's how you grow an economy. It's a very unfortunate and inconvenient truth for socialists. Unfortunately, both parties have been populated by populists who want to look out for everybody and see government as a tool of do-goodery that really, in the long run, does much more harm.
They're buying votes, Kennedy.
Yes.
They're buying votes with our money. Vote for me and look what you get. It's a dreadful story, but that's what we got today. That's it. Kennedy, it's always a pleasure having you on the show.
I miss you, Stuart.
Come back soon. Thanks very much. Come in, Ashley. you've got news on Pennsylvania businesses taking the fight to reopen to the Supreme Court. This is news. What do you got?
Yeah, it is. These businesses first went to Pennsylvania Supreme Court wanting the court to vacate Governor Tom Wolf's executive order shutting down businesses as of March the 19th. The suit was rejected by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, so now they've gone to the Supreme Court of the United States. Basically, they say that the executive order has and is continuing to cause irreparable harm to all businesses forced to close. And it goes on to say that they have been deprived of their property without due process of law that is guaranteed by the U.S. Constitution. And they say tens of thousands of businesses may never be able to recover as a result of this order.
Now, they filed an emergency request to be heard at the Supreme Court, but they've not heard whether or not they're going to do it or not. Okay.
Done. Yep.
Okay, thanks, Ash. We all know that the hotel industry has been severely hit by the virus. I want to bring in Hilary Vaughan, who's going to tell us how bad is it. I think you've got details. Is it from Marriott you've got the story?
Yeah, that's right. We just heard from Arne Sorensen, who spoke to the Economic Club of DC just half an hour ago. He says that the fallout from coronavirus has been 3 times worse than the fallout after 9/11 for their industry. He says that 90% of their hotels are closed. They only have about 2,000 hotels that are open, 2,000 hotels that are closed. Of the ones that are open, they're only operating at about 10% occupancy. He says that they're going to have to make significant changes to the industry moving forward. They're going to move more towards digital check-in. He also explained, or kind of gave his comment on how their stock price has had an impact. He says he thinks it's had a little bit of a rebound because they've seen that the worst that they thought could happen is not necessarily going to happen. Stuart.
Okay. The Marriott stock, by the way, is up this morning. As of now, it's up $1.86. You got to see this. Baseball season kicks off in Taiwan. Got it. The fans in the stand are cardboard cutouts. Is this the new normal? We'll discuss, by the way, with Boston Celtics star Enes Kanter. He's on the show in a few minutes. Newt Gingrich joins us. He's got a plan to get back to a pre-virus economy. He'll let us in on that after this.
The challenge of COVID-19 as America fights the pandemic and market volatility continues. See how to make your next move. From Washington to Wall Street, get all the developments as they happen. Stay with Fox Business for continuing coronavirus coverage.
SiriusXM brings you Gayle King in the House, a brand new live show on Stars. From her house to yours, Gayle is taking your calls live from coast to coast.
And I can't wait to talk to you. I'm interested in hearing how you're navigating these challenges of being isolated at home, relationships, parenting, and your views and opinions on current events. We'd like to shine a light on some of the stories that lift our spirits, and we all need a little lift up.
Gayle King in the House.
Thursdays, live at 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock West Coast.
On SiriusXM Stars 109.
Right now, we cannot be overwhelmed. We have to work to keep our loved ones safe and protect our communities. We have to work to build new solutions. But for this to work, we have to work together. At ZipRecruiter, we connect employers and people every day. But today we're partnering with first responders, government officials, and the medical community to find the right people for the right jobs right now. Let's work together. ZipRecruiter.com/work together.
Mojo would swallow things whole. A chicken carcass, a bird nest, and assorted stones and sticks. After surgery, Mojo had skin issues. He was constantly itching and scratching, chewing the hair right off of his legs. DINOVITE.com. On the Dynavite, all of these symptoms disappear.
Dynavite is nutrition.
If you love your dog, you need to put him on Dynavite.
You won't be how happy your dog will be. DINOVITE.com.
When running a business, HR issues can kill you. Wrongful termination suits, minimum wage requirements, labor regulations, and HR manager salaries are not cheap. They're $70,000 a year. I'm Alan Jones, founder and CEO of Bambi. I created Bambi specifically for small business. Get a dedicated HR manager, craft HR policy, and maintain your compliance, all for just $99 a month. seriously. Let's change HR from your biggest liability to your biggest strength. With Bambi, your dedicated HR manager is available by phone, email, or real-time chat. From onboarding to terminations, we customize your policies to fit your business and help you manage your employees day to day. All for just $99 a month, period. Month to month, no hidden fees, cancel anytime. Get a free HR audit today.
Go to Bambi.com/job. Spelled BAMBED, the BEE.com/job. Go to Bambi.com/job.
To adapt to this changing world, folks are buying more stuff online than ever before. If you're an e-commerce seller, are you ready to meet the demands of the new delivery culture? Be ready with ShipStation. It's the fastest, easiest way to ship. In just a few clicks, you can manage orders, print labels, and get your product into the hands of happy customers. All from a simple, easy-to-use interface. ShipStation gives you the best rates available with all major carriers, including USPS, FedEx, and UPS. With ShipStation, online sellers of any size get the huge discounts usually reserved for big Fortune 500 companies. It's simply the best shipping solution for you and your customers. No wonder ShipStation is the #1 choice for online sellers. You can try ShipStation free for 60 days, completely risk-free. Get your company ready for the demands of delivery culture. Visit ShipStation.com. Click on the microphone at the top of the page and type in news. That's ShipStation.com. Offer code news. ShipStation. Make ship happen.
The coronavirus effect. From America's economy to the markets, stay on top of the pandemic's impact during the critical trading hours. Neil Caputo, Charles Payne, and Liz Clayman have the latest developments. It's all part of our Can't Miss Midday Lineup starting at noon.
Others have suggested a minimum income for a guaranteed income for people. Is that worthy of attention now? Perhaps so, because there are many more people than just in small business and hired by small business, as important as that is to the vitality of our economy, and other people who are not in the public sector meeting our needs in so many ways that may need some assistance as well.
Okay, Speaker Pelosi there pushing for a minimum guaranteed income. That's a universal income kind of scheme. Former Speaker Newt Gingrich is with us. My comment, Newt, forgive me for doing this, but never let a good crisis go to waste. Why not suggest something which is widely discredited because you can use the virus as an excuse to get it? Where am I going wrong?
No, look, I think if you're Nancy Pelosi, this is your chance to pay off every left-wing ally you've got, whether it's sending extra money to states or it's proposing really left-wing ideas. What we need to do is get the economy growing. I think 100% expensing to maximize the investment. A 6-month holiday on the FICA tax for both employer and employee to accelerate. Instead of giving people money for not working, what we want to do is get people back working. I think that's what America's all about. We're going to have a special incentive for everybody who's willing to bring their factories back from China and in-source rather than outsource. And then I think we need to have an all-out effort on the virus in terms of therapies, because people, if we're going to really recover, people have to have a much lower level of fear about being out, traveling, flying, going to hotels, your last report. And finally, we should plan starting right now so that we have a thorough defense in the fall if the virus does come back, so we can defeat it without closing down the economy. I think that's vital.
Do you sense, as I do, an urge to get out of the house, go back to work? Spring fever is here. And I think the floodgates are going to open. I'm sure people want to be reassured about their safety because before they go to a restaurant or before they go to the beach. But I think the floodgates are opening here. Do you get the same sense?
Absolutely. I was talking to my daughter, Kathy Lovers, who lives in Key Biscayne, and she said when the word came out this morning that they were going to reopen the boat docks and the marinas, that her husband Paul's morale went up instantaneously because he loves to fish. He's been totally locked up in their condominium. It's a nice condominium looking out over the ocean, but still, it isn't like being out on the water. So tomorrow morning he'll be down at their local marina. I think Americans are very energetic, very optimistic, and very future-oriented people. And I think that, as you know, I'm talking to you from Rome, where my wife is ambassador to the Vatican, and we've been watching 8 weeks now of Italians being shut down
But here the crisis was so great, the whole country was like New York City. And so I think the Italians, to a degree I'm amazed by, have been very patient with a very severe lockdown. Only grocery stores, gas stations, and pharmacies have been open. But even here, they're beginning to open up starting this coming weekend. And I think people are going to be just desperate to get out, particularly because it's spring and it's nice. People want to have a chance to go out.
There is such a thing as spring fever. It's real. I can feel it. Good Lord, at my age. Mr. Speaker, I just want you to listen to what President Trump said about China, and then we'll discuss our response to China. Roll tape, please.
We are not happy with China. We are not happy with that whole situation because we believe it could have been stopped at the source. It could have been stopped quickly, and it wouldn't have spread all over the world.
Newt, I don't know whether you saw this, but this morning the Germans presented China with an invoice, a bill, $160 billion. You owe us this for the damage you did to a German economy. Are we going to do something similar? Make them pay? Is that possible?
Well, we should. I mean, first of all, I wrote a book called Trump versus China that came out last October, and I think if you read it, you'll see they're behaving just like the dictatorship they are. This virus is their fault. There's a university that came out and said probably 95% of the people would be alive today who died if the Chinese had told the truth. They are clearly guilty, and I think we should, one, open them up to American courts, as we did with Lockerbie bombing, and allow families who had lost a loved one to sue them. Lockerbie, they got about $8 million per person. I suspect with inflation it'll be about $11 million now. Second, we ought to take total economic damages and charge it to the Chinese. We ought to impound or escrow all of their U.S. bonds, all of their holdings in the U.S., and say we're going to hold all of this at risk until you pay what you owe. And we should consider potentially a virus tariff that would charge the Chinese, and we should encourage the whole planet. People ought to be furious at the way this dictatorship has lied to the entire world, leading to several 100,000 unnecessary deaths, a worldwide depression, trillions of dollars of lost wealth. These things aren't an accident. This is the Chinese dictatorship running amok, thinking it can lie to everybody and get away with it. So you're exactly right. We should react very aggressively.
Yeah, you're playing hardball there, Newt Gingrich, all the way from Rome. All right. Newt, thanks for being with us. We always appreciate it. Thank you, sir. See you soon. All right, in a moment, we're going to talk basketball and getting back to some kind of season, or certainly training. Boston Celtics center Enes Kanter is with us. How's he staying in shape during this lockdown? We'll ask him, and he's next.
Battling the pandemic.
We passed the largest emergency economic relief package in American history.
From the economy to the markets, stay with Fox Business for continuing coverage.
If you're in debt to the IRS, there's good news. Optima Tax Relief can help you resolve your tax debt right from the safety of your own home. Optima's award-winning team works with you online and over the phone, so you don't have to leave the comfort of your home to put your tax problems to rest. Optima's A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau and standing by, ready to help you today. Call now for a free consultation. Call 800-361-5513. 800-361-5513. Optima Tax Relief. For details, visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Roses are red. Social distancing makes us blue. Can't be with Mom this Mother's Day? Don't worry, we've got you. Maybe you can't give Mom a hug, but you can send flowers from the Books Co. Books, you know, that's short for bouquets. Books are responsibly sourced from some of the world's finest eco-friendly farms, even farms on the side of volcanoes, so flowers stay fresher longer. Did you know that flowers and plants have been proven to reduce stress and boost productivity? Now that we're spending more time at home, how about a little self-love to brighten your day and your space? Big savings mean you can send farm fresh flowers, plants, and gift bundles to all the moms in your life. Your mom, a soon-to-be mom, your wife, your grandma, a dog mom, or treat yourself. Send smiles no matter the miles.
Visit Boogs.com/FoxBusiness. That's BOUQS.com/FoxBusiness and enter code FoxBusiness for 25% off your entire order. That's code FoxBusiness at Boogs.com/FoxBusiness.
If you're a business owner with salespeople salespeople? How in the world could you say no to this offer? The top 20% of your salespeople close 80% of the business. 80% of all sales are closed after the 5th attempt, and 83% of all salespeople don't even ask for the sale once. Did you know that 90% of all salespeople have never even read one sales book? How many sales are being lost each month? Simply because your salespeople are not professionally trained how to sell. Hi, this is the world's top sales trainer, Jason Evans. I'm going to give you a free 45-minute video of pure sales training techniques that will increase your company's sales within days, guaranteed. This could double, even triple your company's sales. This video is closing, handling objections, and more. Just call us and leave us a voicemail with your email address, and we'll send you this amazing video for free. Call 800-500-8320. This is how to close from A to Z for any product or service, regardless of industry, whether you sell face-to-face or over the phone. Call 800-500-8320. That's 800-500-8320. Paid for by Power Sales University.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-200-1390. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, or overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-200-1390. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-200-1390. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-200-1390. 800-200-1390.
Lauren, I can smell socialism a mile off. What are they doing at Whole Foods?
You've been talking about May Day, Friday, May 1st, as spring fever go out. Well, it's also International Workers' Day. And Whole Foods employees, and reportedly employees from Instacart and Amazon and Target and Walmart and FedEx, are slated to walk off the job. At their lunch break, just walk off because they're demanding more hazard pay, double pay in some cases, more PPE, you name it. So the workers, the essential workers right now, are angry, and many of them do plan to walk off the job on May Day, Friday.
Okay, that's called socialism, but let's get beyond that. At least I'll try. Thanks, Laura. The NBA, they're going to allow players to use team practice facilities in cities that are not subject to restrictions on May the 8th, that is, okay? Ennis Cantor is back with us. He's the center for the Boston Celtics. Ennis, welcome back. Great stuff.
Oh, thank you, guys. Always good. Wasn't stay safe.
Okay, now the NBA has moved that date back, May 8th.
Right.
You're not happy about that, I take it?
We are just stay at home. You know, we just want to go out there and practice, and we're kind of obvious, but we are still what as for we just waiting for like everybody else.
How do you stay in shape?
We actually, with the Celtics, I hope you're a Celtics fan, but we actually have this virtual workout. The Celtics strength coach calling us 3 times a week, and we have this, virtual workouts that he's telling us what to do. So we're actually trying to do a lot of push-ups, a lot of sit-ups, a lot of jumping jacks, because we still don't know if we're gonna when is it gonna start or not. So we're actually trying to do the best we can to stay in shape in our house.
You look like you're doing okay, I gotta say. But look, how do you feel about you look okay. How do you feel about playing, getting back to playing, but with no fans in the stands? We just ran a picture of a game in Taiwan,
right,
where they're using cardboard cutouts instead of real fans. Yeah, oh my God. How do you feel about it?
It's tough because the NBA fans what makes the NBA atmosphere is. So I feel like, but for NBA it's the fan safety first. And I know we want to go out there and, of course, and try to play, but like NBA is doing an amazing job taking care of the players and the fans. But I think if it comes to that, I think without the fans, I don't. Of course, it's not going to be the same, but you know what? I'll take anything right now.
I bet you're just itching to get out there and shoot some moves.
Oh, you have no idea.
I'll bet you are. Well, look, Ennis, look, thanks very much for taking time out to be with us on the show today. We all wish you well. We all hope you can get back to playing big time real soon. And come back soon and tell us how you're doing. Ennis Cantor, everybody. Boston Celtics, right? More Varney after this.
Suffering from classic 80s alternative withdrawal? SiriusXM's First Wave has the cure.
The Smiths.
Depeche Mode,
U2.
The Clash, and whatever else was keeping us weird back when MTV actually played music videos.
Flashback to classic 80s alternative.
Commercial free with SiriusXM First Wave.
Channel 33.
Or outside the car with the SiriusXM app.
What does your office say about you? Your desk and office chair give the impression of success, but that worn-out plastic mat doesn't measure up. Get the look you deserve with a glass chair mat by Vitraza. I'm George Pardo, president of Vitraza. Our glass chair mats are ultra stylish, made of specially coated crystal clear glass. And they're super strong too, they never dent, so you'll roll with a smooth, easy glide. Give us a look at Vitraza.com. We stock 12 popular sizes and ship to your home or office free. Plus, save 10% with promo code LOOK. The look of success is clear. The look is a Vitraza glass chair mat. Here's our website again, V as in Victor, ITRAZZA.com. Use code LOOK to save $25 to $75 on a new glass chair mat. Vitraza.com.
Trading involves financial risk and is not suitable for all investors. Past results do not guarantee future performance.
Stock market have you nervous with all the massive fluctuations? With the impact of coronavirus and the upcoming election, it's virtually impossible to guess what will happen next. With Vantage Point, you don't have to. Text money to 411-411 to find out how our technology can forecast market trend changes with up to 87.4% accuracy. That's right, 87.4%. Text the word money to 411-411 to get what you need to stay ahead of market trends and better protect yourself from sudden downturns. Vantage Point's patented technology analyzes huge quantities of global data in seconds. No more guessing when to stay or when to get out. Text money to 411-411 and we'll send you a link to our free demo so you can better protect your hard-earned capital with Vantage Point. Don't wait. Text the word money to 411-411.
Go to VantagePointSoftware.com for terms, conditions, and privacy policy.
Message and data rates may apply.
Thinking about getting healthier, sleeping better, or losing those last few pounds? Think Noom. Noom is a totally new approach that uses psychology and small goals to help you make lasting change. Backed by science, Noom shows you the why behind your decisions and habits and gives you the tools to change them for good. So get started today at Noom.com. Noom.com. Change your thinking, change your habits, change for good with Noom.
Right now, it feels like the world's standing still. But if you look to the land, it's a whole different story. From farms to backyards, wheels are turning, seeds are being planted, animals are getting fed, grass is growing, and families are giving their all to the soil. Because no matter how uncertain things get, the land never stops. So to all those linked to the land, John Deere says thank you. We're here for you because we all run together. Nothing runs like a deer.
I sure hope you can get to see this. You're looking at the Blue Angels. Well, that's file tape from last year. The Blue Angels are about to take off, and they will fly over New York City. I'm going to show you their route. There it is. They'll fly over the city. Then they'll fly over Long Island. They're honoring first responders in the state hit hard by the virus. And they're also going to fly over Philadelphia and New Jersey. Ladies and gentlemen, they fly F-16s. They are huge planes. And when they fly in formation and you're anywhere near them, you will know that it has real impact. The noise is extraordinary and the visuals are absolutely fantastic. Hope you get a chance to see them. Hope you get a chance to watch the show tomorrow because we've got Larry Kudlow on the show again. He's the top White House economist. He's going to report on and comment on the GDP report. How's the economy doing in the first 3 months of the year. We'll find out tomorrow morning, and Larry Kudlow will tell us what he thinks about it a little later on the program tomorrow. I'll leave you with the Dow up 18, but the Nasdaq and the S&P on the downside. A mixed market. But it's yours, Neil. Take it away.
All right, Stuart, thank you very, very much. We are waiting to hear from the president. He's meeting with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis here, also outlining some plans how he might look at helping the states. It's not a very black and white issue here. Certainly there won't be any bailouts per se, or putting states on the line where they would file for bankruptcy, something that Mitch McConnell has raised. But this could come up as the president talks to reporters. They're in that room right now with the governor and the president. So when he comes out of there, or when they leave that room and get us the tape, I think by now you know the drill. To play it back for it. In the meantime, Blake Berman on what we're learning now, not only about Florida, but other states that are reopening. And this pace is going to pick up quite aggressively in the next couple of weeks to come. Blake, what are you hearing?
It is indeed, Neil. Florida, as you mentioned, one of those states, the governor there, Ron DeSantis, in the Oval Office right now meeting with President Trump. We're getting some notes from the reporters inside about that meeting. It appears to be a little bit of a show and tell as the Florida governor is holding up graphs and charts for the president. We've described this as a news conference, though, as you said, you know the deal. This is kind of one of those pool sprays, and we expect to hear answers from the president soon. DeSantis, though, did tell the president and reporters in that room, at least as it relates to Florida, quote, the ability to test exceeds current demand. Certainly good news there in Florida. The Florida governor said yesterday in a news conference in his home state that Florida, for example, would be taking baby steps in that. In his state, there would be sort of a different plan for Southeast Florida as it relates to the rest of the state. I asked President Trump, Neil, in the Rose Garden last night during that press conference in which he outlined testing guidelines going forward, what he would look for, what data he would look for in case the restrictions need to be reimposed down the line as the states reopen. The president seemed to suggest to me that he would turn to the governors for that answer and turn to the governors for that data. I bring that up because the president's top economist, Kevin Hassett, just a little while ago, again expressed that very same possibility. Listen here.
Yes, we're definitely following every single state. We're following what their rules are. We got some activated social distancing data, so we need to see how that is. We had social distancing and making sure that opening up isn't something that's causing disease to come back. And if it did, then, the people in the White House would be taking it.
So clearly, one of these efforts when they are in the White House going to be leaning on these governors, the president with the Florida governor in the Oval Office right now. By the way, later this afternoon, 3 o'clock at the White House, a big event to try to tout the PPP, the Small Business Loan Program, which is rolling out the second batch of loans, though we are hearing there are a host of problems for many folks trying to get in line and get those applications processed. Should be interesting to see if the president is asked about that, certainly at 3 o'clock, but maybe even upcoming here as well, currently in the Oval Office. Neil?
Blake, thank you very much. I heard Blake Berman in Washington. By the way, I think right now it's going on over the skies of Manhattan. The Blue Angels, 12 fighter jets in all, working with the Air Force's Thunderbirds, are going to be flying in multiple successions over the city of New York. It's out of respect and a big thank you to healthcare workers. They will then make their way down to Philadelphia. This is a rare sight to see in the New York metropolitan area where this has to be in sync in a second. They always are. It involves at least 6 of the Air Force's F-16 CD Fighting Falcons, half a dozen of the F-18 CD Hornets. But there will soon be a multiple city stop. I mentioned Philadelphia, but it's also going to include, as I said, New York City to start things off, and then Newark. The commander on the scene is saying that we're excited to take to the skies with our Navy counterparts in a tribute to the men and women who are putting it all on the line and making our communities safe. That, my friends, is spectacular. We'll be going back to that and show you that, because something like this is not seen. In fact, something like this was not seen since we had the bicentennial celebration across the country back in 1976. Gosh, I was in high school. All right, now let's get the latest on what's happening with these states reopening, beginning with Casey Stengel right now in Texas and how they adjust to that. It's again, a slow but steady pace, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Neil. The governor's been saying that all along, that this is going to happen in phases, and he's encouraged people to be, respectful of that and also patient. The biggest restrictions will be lifted in this state on Monday. A lot of things get to open, but there are stipulations. Number one, limiting how many customers and employees can be inside a store or building at one time. 25% occupancy is the maximum for now. So basically, if a store can normally have 200 people shopping inside, now only 50 would be permitted. The same rules apply for everything set to open, which includes museums, libraries, movie theaters, and dine-in restaurants. Many eateries say their phones have been ringing off the hook with people wanting to make dinner reservations for Friday night. A large number of establishments will offer patio seating with tables spaced apart versus their interior dining options for now.
I don't know how dropping our revenue by 75% works in any circumstance. Once again, will my rent be cut by 75%? My utilities, electric, water, insurance, are my employees supposed to work for 75% less?
A lot of questions there, but the open items not on the list for Friday: spas, hair salons, barbers, gyms, and children's summer camps. Governor Abbott says top health officials have advised against doing that right now until the number of COVID-19 cases continue to drop. Right now, they plan to open those in mid-May if things are looking good. It has certainly created anger for some in that industry as they've watched a handful of states already starting to lift restrictions like barbers and salons and the like. Social distancing must still be followed, however, with anyone venturing out on Friday. Face coverings are not required. They're certainly encouraged. Neil, since this whole outbreak began, roughly 2 million Texans alone have filed for unemployment. So lots of people ready to get back to work and get those paychecks.
I can well understand. Casey, thank you very much. I want to take you back to the skies over Manhattan right now. And Melinda, if we can keep this up as we're talking to my next guest here. This event is a great thank you to the healthcare workers and first responders in the New York City metropolitan area. From here, they head over the skies of Newark. Actually, they're very close. They're just across the Hudson River, I should say there. Then down to Trenton, New Jersey, and ultimately in Philadelphia. This involves the Navy's Blue Angels versus Thunderbirds, giving a very, very loud salute to these healthcare workers and others in the front lines. The one commander at the scene was saying, we just thought it was the proper thing to do, and this is what we do when we think a lot of people. Well, that is a great recognition of those people who are in the front lines, and a reminder that they're patriots all, as the guys flying those planes and taking them. It's something we've not seen over the skies of New York until since the bicentennial celebrations back in 1976. We've seen varying degrees around Fleet Week. They do sort of minimized sort of versions of this, but nothing like this. Again, over the skies of Manhattan, for people who didn't know this was coming, it's got to be a bit of a shock. You look up and you go, whoa. But it is happening right now. And John Lonsky, as you watch this, as we give a reminder to our healthcare workers and responders the important role that they're playing in getting this coronavirus under control. It is a good metaphor for a country coming back as well, slowly but surely, steadily, so far, without any big incidents, reopening, but in a staggered basis. That it's that, like those jets, that we come back. What do you make of all this?
Well, they say slow and steady wins the race. You have to be patient with the recovery from the virus. I think it's just great that we have this magnificent display by those jets flying over Manhattan and later Philadelphia.
We're getting this on the same day all these states are slowly, but surely opening up again. The ones that are getting a lot of the attention right now are Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Alaska. In New York, where they're flying over now, that could be delayed, at least in New York City. Well, right now, the sheltering provisions in effect there will be in effect until at least the middle of May 15th, and could go on a little bit longer. But nevertheless, hope springs eternal for one of the world's busiest cities, that it too will get back to normal. I find it interesting too, John, that the cities that we'll visit are cities by and large shut down through this whole process, but slowly reopening. What do you want to see in these reopenings as they begin in earnest, perhaps on the 15th?
I think what we're looking for is, first of all, once businesses reopen, consumers return. I think that's going to be the case. Of course, we can't go back to the way things were in February or January. That's not going to happen anytime soon. I mean, if you reopen stores, you'll have a limited number of customers. Restaurants, you'll probably have a lot of space between tables in order to keep this 6-foot rule in effect. It's going to be different. And many of us, if I go back to New York City, when that happens, I wouldn't be surprised if I'm going to be wearing a face mask for some time. And then again, one of the problems you have in New York City and other densely populated cities would be the reluctance on the part of people to use mass transit. And it's hard to believe how New York City can function without the subway system.
You know, I also think of the crowds, that are general, when I look up in the sky and see something like we're seeing now with the skies of Manhattan, Thunderbirds and Blue Angels, saluting the first responders, healthcare workers in the area in case you weren't aware. I always think, John, of those who did not know this was going to happen with a mix of excitement and maybe panic when you see what's going on overhead. But having said that, I mean, it is just a matter of time. But on the so-called recovery we see, are you in the V-shape or the, I don't know, the U-shape, the L-shaped crowd? A lot of people expect a strong recovery, want to see a strong recovery. I don't know, given the staggered nature of this. That's actually a beautiful shot there as what's around the Freedom Tower in downtown Manhattan. Of course, the replacement for the old World Trade Center after the 9/11 attacks. But back to my point, John, about how quickly you get back, it might not be quick. It might not, be a V-shape, but it will be an improvement, right?
What we need is a recovery. You're exactly right, Neil. It will be impossible to have a V-shaped recovery as long as we have a gradual, staggered reopening of business activity. What is of special importance is that we don't have a relapse, that we avoid a W-shaped recovery where we begin to improve and all of a sudden the virus snaps back and we're shutting down all over again. I think the market would be more than happy with a slow, gradual recovery. Who cares about the rate of earnings growth? What matters is that corporate earnings grow yet again. And low interest rates, will have the effect of making slow growth, slow profits growth or earnings growth very acceptable to the equity market.
The president is speaking at this event right now. We'll have tape of it pretty soon, John, as we, watch the Thunderbirds and the Blue Angels do a magnificent sweep around Greater Manhattan right now. That includes, going by the Empire State Building and downtown New York. Of course, the Freedom Tower, these iconic symbols of American greatness. In the case of the Freedom Tower, an enormous comeback after those devastating blows on September 11th, proof that it's in us to come back. And if these the pilots are celebrating anything, it's that American spirit, that can-do spirit that we come back. We overcame those horrific tragedies. Obviously, this is a bit of a metaphor, maybe a stretch on my part to say we can overcome these. Having said that, John, I do notice that the president is talking about the fact the quarter we're in it's probably not going to be that great. I don't think that's, worthy of a Fox alert here. But he is saying that the third quarter will be the transition one, the one that we start coming out of this, and the fourth quarter will be really strong. And he sees 2021 as the year to see very strong economic growth. Does that dovetail with your own forecast?
Those predictions will prove correct, provided that we don't have a second wave of coronavirus come this fall. That would definitely throw sand in the machinery, if you like, and make it next to impossible to realize a vigorous recovery towards the end of 2020. When it gets down to, you can have all the policy actions in the world, but ultimately, it's the course of the virus that's going to that will determine how healthy an economic recovery we will have.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. There's always talk about stimulus the president is raising right now in this session. More middle-class tax relief. We don't know the details. All that might be welcomed by those in the groups affected or could be impacted in a positive way But I agree with you, John, that what will move these markets, obviously move the American people, is the notion that the virus and progress of the virus itself is really pronounced. It's really getting better. That's what's going to matter. John, thank you very, very much on all of that. I want to go to Alan Upward right now because there's a separate story going on here that normally the markets would be much more affected than they appear thus far, and that is the collapse in oil prices again. We're well over our lows, but still, it began overnight, continued today, where a lot of oil prices, and as a result, some of those that have anything to do with oil, are taking it on the chin. Alan, I've been following that very, very closely. What happened here? I mean, we had some steady days of gains and optimism that we were through the worst of it right now. I want to stress we were a lot lower earlier this morning. I'm looking at the June contract for crude oil. But what happened is the belief that this could take longer than thought. We got ahead of our skis.
Supply and demand. Now, last Monday was a very unique situation, something that none of us have ever seen before. That was just a unwinding of physical delivery contracts. It was just a little bit of a glitch in how people do that. Nobody should have been involved in that Monday move. They should have been out of their trades on that Friday. So those people that were still in it, that was a mistake on their part, and that's why they had no liquidity. But the markets operated properly. Let's go fast forward to where we are now. We're reflecting, what's happening in the marketplace, and we're making higher lows and lower highs than we have here recently. But I would still look at it as somewhat positive. Look at the further out contracts. Look at the July, look at October, look at December. You're seeing signs of stability as we look further out. But these front month, because who wants the oil right now? Where are you going to put it? It's unfortunately much like the farmers are with too much milk. They just kind of have to dump it in the fields.
All right, now in the case of oil, they have to dump it in the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, or if they can, apparently that thing could be getting tapped out. So, dumb question on my part, but what happens to all of this oil? I mean, all these tankers with oil coming here, where does it go?
In different shades of the marketplace, but I think what we want to focus on here is the opportunity. If you look at, there's a lot of oil and energy stocks that have been making a bottom pattern here and forming a nice base. I've been looking at Halliburton, Schlumberger, COP. So there are a number of trades, and for me, it's all about risk reward. That's what trading is about. It's about having the right risk reward, and I think there's upside potential. We've also heard this week that the government's looking to, how should we say politely, subsidize or support the energy sector. They're going to do anything they can, obviously, with the election coming up. And we also heard just today, I heard the phrase, not likely. When has the Fed, or when has, whenever we heard the comments that we're not likely to buy stocks for the Fed, I mean, that's an amazing fact. So let's see if that's supportive of the markets. But I like the price action. I'm a price guy. I try not to think too much. And if you look at the price action, we've had a very strong momentum move back above the halfway point of this drop from the top. That's very, very positive. And every time that's happened in history, it's made new all-time highs.
All right, watching that with fingers crossed to your point. Alan Upton, thank you very, very much. We are getting a little bit more on this meeting at the White House with the president and the Florida governor, where he talks about things picking up steam as the year rolls on, particularly the third and fourth quarters. Also talking about providing potentially relief for consumers or the meat industry itself. I couldn't discern what the relief. But this occurs with closing a plant West and out in Dakota that it's going to lead to meat shortages throughout much of the country. The president prepared to do something about that. We just don't know what. Maybe when we go to the tape, when it is provided to us, when reporters leave the White House, we'll know more. 66 points, and the Blue Angels ready to move on. Jersey and Philadelphia.
With LL Cool J and a virtual room full of Sirius XM subscribers rock the Bells Radio. Hosted by LL Cool J. Hear replays throughout the week. Listen at home with Amazon Alexa, Google it. However you stream in the house. Channel 43.
Fox Business. The power to prosper. Fox Business. Sirius XM 113 and on the Sirius XM app for smartphones.
Right now we cannot be overwhelmed. We have to work to keep our loved ones safe and protect our communities. We have to work to build new solutions. But for this to work, we have to work together. At ZipRecruiter, we connect employers and people every day. But today we're partnering with first responders, government and community to find the right people for the right jobs right now. Let's work together. ZipRecruiter.com/work together.
When running a business, HR issues can kill you. Wrong? Minimum wage requirements, labor regulations, and HR managers' salaries are not cheap. They're $70,000 a year. I'm Alan Jones, founder and CEO of Bambi. I created Bambi specifically for small business. Get a dedicated HR manager, craft HR policy, and maintain your compliance, all for just $99 a month. Seriously. Let's change HR from your biggest liability to your biggest strength. With Bambi, your dedicated HR manager is available by phone, email, or real-time chat. From onboarding to terminations, we customize your policies to fit your business and help you manage your employees day to day. All for just $99 a month, period. Month to month, no hidden fees, cancel anytime. Get a free HR audit today.
Go to Bambi.com/job. Spelled BAM to the BEE.com/job. Go to Bambi.com/job.
If you're a business owner with salespeople, how in the world could you say no to this offer? The top 20% of your salespeople close 80% of the business. 80% of all sales are closed after the 5th attempt, and 83% of all salespeople don't even ask for the sale once. Did you know that 90% of all salespeople have never even read one sales book? How many sales are being lost each month? Simply because your salespeople are not professionally trained how to sell. Hi, this is the world's top sales trainer, Jason Evans. I'm going to give you a free 45-minute video of pure sales training techniques that will increase your company's sales within days, guaranteed. This could double, even triple your company's sales. This video is closing, handling objections, and more. Just call us and leave us a voicemail with your email address, and we'll send you this amazing video for free. Call 800-500-8320. This is how to close from A to Z for any product or service, regardless of industry, whether you sell face-to-face or over the phone. Call 800-500-8320. That's 800-500-8320. Paid for by Power Sales University.
Sirius XM. This is Sirius XM.
I don't have a fascination to get involved in media bias. I was dragged into it, kicking and screaming.
Everywhere I go, there's someone that will point me out.
Lara Logan has no agenda, bias in the media. Available now, only on FoxNation.com.
Governor exceed his authority when he announces some stay-at-home provisions here. In the city of Hartford, Wisconsin, they say he did. And that not only did he exceed his authority, he made their life an unending hell. So they're taking their case all the way to the Supreme Court, saying essentially, strike down what he has demanded. Is that fair? Is that right? These would not be the first residents to claim that governors have gone way too far. Let's go to Judge Ada Napolitano on this, the legality of this. The governor sets the rules, I guess, as I understand it, Judge, but these cities and municipalities are free to challenge that, right? But to the Supreme Court?
Well, this challenge is actually by a guy by the name of Danny DeVito, no relation to the actor who's a Republican candidate for the state legislature and claims he can't campaign. And so his First Amendment right is being trampled. Along with Danny DeVito is a golf course and a barber shop and a restaurant. So this is a gathering of Pennsylvania persons and entities who have been shut down, not by an act of the Pennsylvania legislature, but by a repeatedly amended and altered series of executive orders by Governor Wolf of Pennsylvania. So late last week, the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania, very close by a vote of 4-3, upheld the governor, and that is now being appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. So the question before the U.S. Supreme Court is a multi-headed one. Can a governor do this, or must it be done by legislation? Can anybody do this, or no matter who does it, a governor or a state legislature, doesn't it violate rights that are guaranteed in the Constitution? Free speech, the right to engage in commercial activities, the right to assemble, to challenge the government. The importance of this, Neil, I'm glad you raised it, is this is the first one to reach the Supreme Court. I think they're going to punt. Eventually, all of these cases, there are many bubbling up, will be consolidated in one case before the Supreme Court. I think they'll punt on this one. But it does set up the issues very nicely about how far these governors can go.
And how far businesses can go, right? You know, in the next hour, we're going to be talking to this woman, Shelley Lutter, who has a salon that she insisted on opening before the state would allow her to. She was served with a summons. She could be arrested. She hasn't thus far. But what rights do business owners have to challenge a state telling them you cannot open?
Well, they have every right to challenge the state in court. While the courthouses are closed, state judges and federal judges are sitting all over the country using the same type of devices that you and I are using, and they hear emergency applications. They're not holding jury trials. The government does not want a jury trial on whether or not these lockdowns are lawful because the government fears it would lose. But think about it. The person you're going to interview in the next hour, to her business is essential. To her employees, her business is essential. They need the income from that business in order to...
All right, let's go to the White House right now. Yes. With Governor DeSantis of Florida.
Your safer-at-home order expires on Thursday.
So I did an essential business order, so we kept a lot of things going safely. And I think I know that people conflate all these around the country, but I kept construction going. I accelerated road projects in Florida because the traffic was down. So we're doing I-4 in Orlando. We're doing bridges in Tampa. So we had a lot of things going. So that's through April 30th. I work with the White House. I'm kind of going to phase one. I'm going to make an announcement tomorrow. But I think for Florida, going from where we are now to phase one is not a very a big leap. I think that will be able to be a small step for us, but we're going to approach it in a very measured, thoughtful, and data-driven way. And I think that's what most of the folks throughout the state are looking for.
So you won't be doing what they did in Georgia. Ron saw the empty roads, and he was telling me before, it was fascinating. He saw the empty roads all over Florida from doing this, where they're staying at home. And he said, this is a great time to build roads. This is a great time to fix bridges. They were fixing bridges down there where normally there'd be a traffic nightmare, and they're fixing bridges and there's hardly any traffic.
Yeah, so we've been able to accelerate key projects by as much as 2 months. And so as people get back into the swing of things, and this is going to be a gradual process, you're going to end up having reduced congestion probably more than we've ever done in such a short period of time. So I think it was taking advantage of an opportunity.
Do more tests than demand, is that the norm in this country, do you think?
It's true in other places. It's definitely true with Ron. It seems to be true where the governors have done the proper job using us and utilizing the services that we provide, but it is also true in certain other locations.
I was trying to say, just so people don't get the misimpression, we have 7 sites in major areas in our state. We have more capacity than we get. These walk-up sites, though, have gone into areas that were underserved. You do have a demand there, and so I think we definitely have enough supplies and everything, but I think the key is going to be finding pockets that maybe we're not testing as much. I mean, obviously, we've got testing everywhere in Miami because they have the most cases. We have testing in other parts. So I think this walk-up site is going to give us some confidence that we're going into places that may have been overlooked and giving people easy access. I also just recently got rid or suspended any regulations that would prevent licensed pharmacists from administering tests. So CVS and Walmart, you're hopefully, and I think they're interested in doing it, or Walgreens, you could actually maybe go in there and the licensed pharmacist will be able to test you. That's going to be very convenient for an awful lot of people. Mr. President, overall, South Korea has done 5 times more tests than the U.S. per capita. Why is that?
I don't think that's true.
And that is true. And you said this morning that the White House said the U.S. passes South Korea in virus testing.
Who are you with?
Yahoo News. And it's not true per capita.
Do you want to respond to that? Do you have the numbers?
sure I have the numbers. So remember early on, we pushed tests to the outbreak areas, just like he described. His primary outbreak was in Miami-Dade and Broward County and Palm Beach, so they pushed tests into that region. We did the same thing in the United States. So if you look at every single state that had an outbreak, their testing is greater than anywhere in the world. They're in the 42 per thousand range.
Your point is taken about individual areas, but overall, we've had 14 times more infections than South Korea. So are we doing something wrong, and why is that? They have a very dense population.
Yeah, our epidemic looks much more like the European epidemic. So right now we're tracking very close to the countries in Europe, and we're testing at their rate of their concentrated epidemics and where they're occurring in the metros. I think it really shows the susceptibility of our major cities in the same way they were susceptible in Europe. And so we've been very focused on that. That's not to say that we're not supporting the rural states. We're very much supporting the rural states and very much supporting their testing. There's no state right now in the United States that's tested really less than 1%, which is pretty remarkable when they don't really have significant cases. But we've been really working with states to do sentinel surveillance and also to reach out to our Native American populations as well as our inner city. So I think now that we've expanded testing dramatically and CDC has altered the criteria for testing, I think you'll see as governors have unlocked more and more potential in their laboratories. We know that we have more laboratory capacity, and you hear the governors talk about we have capacity and now we have to match things, the resources that you need, the swabs and the extraction media with the capacity. And I think governors are well aware of how to expand testing now. And so we're in that partnership. That's what was announced yesterday. We want testing linked to critical contact tracing, but we also want testing as he described. The governor described a really important insight. He went where the virus could cause the most damage to human beings. And so we went into the nursing homes to really proactively test. And that's really in our, yes, and that's true in our, that's why it's in the blueprint. And I think some of the press didn't hear how much we were emphasizing asymptomatic testing. We believe that's a critical part of this. So you can't approach this like you've just traditionally approached flu. And you have to be more innovative. And we've been in really a strong partnership with the governors. And I think that's why the blueprint was so important, because it talked about symptomatic testing and asymptomatic testing to protect the most vulnerable individuals. And you can see what it did with the nursing home fatality rates.
Well, especially with the asymptomatic, in a nursing home situation, if that starts getting out, man, that is a perfect environment for this virus to just start spread. I mean, it can spread like wildfire very quickly. That's why you're trying to do all this stuff. So.
Likely to go to the president's.
So we're going to make an announcement tomorrow. I created a task force, and I have all kinds of folks. We have some of the great health systems. We have great docs. We've got business folks. I've got elected officials. They've submitted a report to me. I'm going to be reviewing that today. Obviously, we've been thinking about what we're going to need to do, and so we'll announce it tomorrow about the next step forward for Florida. But I'll just wait to announce it then.
How flights coming from Latin America to Miami, and we see an increase in cases in Latin America and South America. I think you're worried also.
No, I've been worried about that the whole time. I mean, I think that Brazil and some of those places, which have a lot of interaction with Miami, you're going to probably see the epidemic increase there as their season changes. And so we could potentially we could be way on the other side doing well in Florida, and then you could just have people kind of come in. So one of the things I've mentioned to the president is, you have this Abbott Labs test. If you have some of these international flights, maybe some of these airliners it should be on them to check before they're getting on and coming to this country, so that we're able to keep it. I mean, you've seen what happened with the China flight restrictions. That kept a lot of people from seeding the West Coast more. And so if we're in a situation you could potentially have from hotspots coming in, I think we were technologically more advanced where there should be something like that. So I've been advocating for that. I've talked with some other governors about it. But for Florida, clearly that's going to be an issue. You look at it.
Cutting off Brazil. I mean, you're going to.
Well, not necessarily cut them off, but it's just if you're going to fly to Miami, then the airline should give you the Abbott test and then put you on the plane. But
would you ever want to ban certain countries?
If they were seeding the United States, I think
you'll let us know.
For sure.
You'll let us know.
But I would say in the United States, or in Florida, excuse me, in spite of all the international travel, I mean, we have so many people that go to Orlando, Miami, and all that.
If you look at our outbreak, not a lot of it is tied to that. It's mostly tied to New York City travel into the 3 southern Florida, because the Orlando situation is worlds different than Palm Beach and Broward and Miami-Dade. But yet they have as much international travel as anybody. And yet as of this morning, I think Orlando had 50 people hospitalized in that whole area for COVID-19. I mean, people were predicting there were going to be hundreds of thousands hospitalized in Florida by this time. So they've had a really modest outbreak. Southeast Florida, I mean, still by some of these other standards, not as bad as other parts of the country, but that was really more of a domestic seeding, I think, than international.
We're going to touch on that. Go ahead.
Why not then require that people take tests before they take international flights, and why not even require that people wear masks on planes?
And we're probably going to be doing that. Brazil has pretty much of an outbreak, as you know. They also went a different way than other countries in South America. If you look at the chart, you see what happened, unfortunately, to Brazil. So we're looking at it very closely, and we're in coordination with other governors also, but in particular with Ron. We'll make that decision pretty soon.
But what about all flights, all international flights?
We're looking at that. That's a very big thing to do. You know, again, I did it with China, I did it with Europe. That's a very big thing to do. It's certainly a very big thing to do to Florida, because you have so much business from South America. So we'll be looking at that.
So to our Yahoo gentlemen, I just want to make it clear that South Korea's testing was 11 per 100,000, and we're at 17 per 100,000. So
are you going to apologize, Yahoo? That's why you're Yahoo. Nobody knows who that you are. Go ahead. Let's go. That's why nobody knows who you are, including me. Go ahead.
just check it again.
You want to get your facts right before you.
We have
Okay, your facts are wrong. Let's go.
Just to clarify what you were just talking about, you're looking at cutting off more international travel from Latin America?
No, we're talking to the governor. We're talking with others also that have a lot of business coming in from South America, Latin America, and we'll make a determination. We're also setting up a system where we do some testing, and we're working with the airlines on that. Testing on the plane, getting on the planes. It'll be both.
And Governor DeSantis, you did face quite a bit of criticism for not closing your state as soon as some did.
Yeah, look at what the results been. You look at some of the most draconian orders that have been issued in some of these states, and compare Florida in terms of our hospitalizations per 100,000, in terms of our fatalities per 100,000. I mean, you go from D.C., Maryland, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, you name it. Florida's done better, and I'm not criticizing those states, but everyone in the media was saying Florida was going to be like New York or Italy, and that has not happened, because we understood we have a big diverse state, we understood the outbreak was not uniform throughout the state, and we had a tailored and measured approach that not only helped our numbers be way below what anyone predicted, but also did less damage to our state going forward. I had construction going on, the road projects, but we did it in a safe way, and we did it, I think, in a way that is probably more sustainable over the long term. So I think people could go back and look at all the criticism, and then look now, and nobody predicted that Florida would. We have challenges. This is not an easy situation. We've had people in the hospital, but I am now in a situation where I have less than 500 people at a state of 22 million on ventilators as of last night. And I have 6,500 ventilators that are sitting idle, unused throughout the state of Florida.
So my question is, I mean, you face that criticism, you have these numbers that you're sharing. Are you concerned at all about another outbreak coming this summer, this fall, and not being ready for it?
So of course, that's why the whole thing we're doing is, this is a novel virus, it's unpredictable, but we're in a situation now where we have so many more tools to be able to detect. And one of the things that I was talking to Dr. Birx about, our Florida Department of Health, we have a fully integrated health system with the counties. We have been doing contact tracing from the very beginning. Now, sure, once the outbreak gets to a certain point, the mitigation is really what you do. The contact tracing is not going to be able to stop like what was going on in New York City. But in Florida, we had such an uneven outbreak. We were doing contact tracing throughout this whole time in parts of the state that the outbreak wasn't as severe. They limited the spread and did it very effectively. And so that's going to be a huge part of what we're doing going forward. And we think that that can be successful. And we're going to have so many more opportunities with sentinel surveillance. We're offensive with the nursing homes. nothing's going to change on the nursing home testing. This is, until this virus goes away, this is the population that is most at risk. In Florida, we have close to 85% of the fatalities have been age 65 or older, and most of them have some comorbidities. And so these are the types of facilities that are the most at risk. So nothing's going to change on that. We're going to continue protecting elderly, and we messaged that very early about the risk, about how they should stay home. I wasn't going to arrest an elderly if they left their house, but we told them limit contacts because you're more at risk, and they listen. That's why you go to a place like the Villages. There were articles written saying, oh, the Villages is going to crash and burn, all this other stuff. They have like a 2.5% infection rate. We tested 1,200 asymptomatic, and none were found to have the virus. And so this is this message of understanding the risks are different for different parts of our communities and age and health, and continue doing all. So I think what you'll see is, however we move forward, and I'll announce that soon, you're going to see even more attention paid to the vulnerable, and I think that that's what we need to be doing.
And you know, Ron said one thing that was really interesting. You talk about ventilators, and ventilators are going to be a disaster in Florida, a disaster that not enough. And we sent up thousands of ventilators, but in the meantime, you have thousands of ventilators that aren't used, and we'll be able to send them probably to other countries. You'll build up your stockpile, but we'll be able, because other countries, Italy, France, numerous, Spain is very much, we're sending to Spain. I spoke today to Nigeria. They'll do anything for ventilators. We're going to send at least 200 ventilators to Nigeria, probably more than that. So ventilators was going to be a big problem, and now we have really, I mean, through an incredible amount of work by the federal government, we have a big, beautiful overcapacity. It's the same thing with testing. The only problem is the press doesn't give credit for that, because, you know, no matter what test you do, they'll say, oh, you should have done this. You should have tested 325 million people 37 times. Now, the testing is going very well, but this is a good example of a partnership between the federal government and a state government. Ron has been great, and some of your friends, some of the other governors have done a good job, but some haven't done a very good job, I'll be honest with you. Some have not.
But one of the things I think, Jared, he had a team of going about, like, figuring out where the ventilators would be needed. So when everyone was talking about 40,000 ventilators in New York, I'm in contact with Jared about Florida, about New York, and he was saying, well, they're not going to need that. And I was like, look, I agree with your numbers. I don't think we need any ventilators in Florida right now. Maybe things will change. So they were ready at a moment's notice to get the ventilators wherever they need. We never got, I think we may have just gotten 100 at the beginning from FEMA, but we never got like an emergency shipment because we didn't need it. But they were absolutely ready, willing, and able to do that once the data suggested
they were on call. A lot of people expected it. When we read reports from the papers, I'd call Ron and say, Ron, I think we're going to need maybe thousands based on what some phony news organization was saying. And more and more, you know, number one, it was well handled, but we were ready to move, and we still are. We have more than 10,000. Jared, what do we have? 10,000? More than 10,000 in stockpile.
More than 10,000. It's growing every day. We're getting a lot more in than we're sending out.
And what we'll be able to do is help other countries, which is a good thing. Not only allies, countries that need help. We're talking about a lot of countries that need help. Jared?
Supply chain. Is there anything your administration is doing or might be doing in the future to make sure that there's enough meat supplies?
Yeah, we're working with Tyson.
Exports.
We're going to sign an executive order today, I believe, and that'll solve any liability problems where they have certain liability problems, and we'll be in very good shape. We're working with Tyson, which is one of the big companies in that world, and we always work with the farmers. There's plenty of supply. There's plenty of, as you know, there's plenty of supply. It's distribution, and we will probably have that today solved. It was a very unique circumstance because of liability.
Can you clarify what your intelligence advisors were telling you back in January and February? Were you warned about what was happening with coronavirus and the threat to this country? Should there have been stronger warnings? What were you hearing every day?
I think probably a lot more than the Democrats, because a month later Nancy Pelosi was saying, let's dance in the streets of Chinatown. You go back and you take a look at even professionals like Anthony was saying, this is no problem. This is late in February. This is no problem. This is going to blow. This is going to blow over. and they're professionals, and they're good professionals. Most people thought this was going to blow over, and you can go. We did, I think, on January, toward the end of January, we did a ban with China. That was a very, I think you just said a little while ago, that was a very important step. And then ultimately we did a ban on Europe. That was very early in the process, because if you take the ban and you look at it, I was badly criticized by Sleepy Joe Biden, by others. I was criticized horribly. He said all sorts of things we won't even say it. And then he apologized because 2 weeks ago he put out a statement that I was right. So we did a ban. John, as you know, we did a ban. And many people, Democrats, professionals, probably Republicans, said that this would never happen, that it'd be nothing, no big problem. You saw that, I think, better than anybody, Deborah. This was after the ban, so obviously I took it very seriously. I'm not going to be banning China from coming in if I didn't take it seriously, and I did that early.
So were you getting warnings in your presentation?
I would have to check. I want to look as to the exact dates of warnings, but I can tell you this. When I did the ban on China, almost everybody was against me, including Republicans. They thought it was far too harsh, that it wasn't necessary. Professionals, Republicans, and Democrats, almost everybody disagreed, and that was done very early. And that was a big step, because I think we saved, whether it was luck, talent, or something else, we saved many thousands of lives. And Anthony said that, and you were saying that, and a lot of people said it was a very, I think you'd have a much different situation right now if we didn't do the ban. On that note, we also did a ban, as you know, earlier. We did a ban on Europe sometime after, but still relatively.
Now, after the ban on travel from China, 40,000 people came into the United States. Those were American citizens largely. In hindsight, and looking back, should there have been steps made to quarantine those people that were coming back, or test? There were. In Florida, we had hundreds of people that were under investigation by our health department. They were asked to quarantine for 14 days. Anyone that was coming back from China, the Wuhan area and Hubei province, they were having to self-isolate before they could even get to Florida, because that's what you guys did. But we had all hundreds of people under investigation during this time, and actually none of them ended up testing positive, the ones that developed symptoms. I don't think a lot of them didn't develop symptoms, but that was actually being done in Florida, and we were very much viewing it as a China deal. Of course, I think it was, New York eventually brought it to Florida, but that was being done in the state level.
And the people we let back, John, as you know, they were American citizens. What are you going to do? You can't come back into your country. It wasn't like we were thrilled either. I said, well, we have these people coming back. All American citizens, meaning just about all American citizens. There's not much you can do about that. We did do testing, and individual, in hindsight, the states did testing. I know Ron was doing a lot of testing, and the individual states were doing in cooperation with the federal government. But originally it was that, 40,000 people came in. What they don't say, what the news doesn't say, is they happen to be American citizens. How do you keep American citizens? You say they're coming in from China, they want to come back to their country. There's a tremendous problem in China. They want to come back. Are we supposed to say to an American citizen, you can't come back into your country? And we did do testing, and individual states did testing, or were supposed to. Anybody else?
There's also more details on the executive order regarding the meat supply. So it seems like the issue right now is that when the processing plants close down, there are all these animals that can't be processed into meat in American supermarkets.
Probably today we'll have that it's a roadblock. It's sort of a legal roadblock more than anything else. We'll have that done today. You can speak to the chief in a little while if you'd like. Okay. They'll give you a specific. I don't know if you'd like that, because there won't be any cameras running. But if you'd like to get a real answer, you can speak to the chief.
And also, JetBlue today was the first airline to mandate that passengers wear masks on planes. Is that something that you are considering rolling out for all planes? JetBlue.
Sounds like a good idea. To me, sounds like a very good idea.
Governor, you have hundreds of thousands of tourists and visitors coming from Canada each year, spending months in.
Not right now we don't, but normally we do.
Exactly. Have you been able to evaluate how much the economy of your state is losing from the borders being closed? And what do you think? What's your feeling about things going back to something normal as for the visitors coming from Canada?
So I think that a lot of this is a confidence, and building confidence with the public that the next step is going to be done thoughtfully, it's going to be done in a measured way, and it's going to be done with an eye to making sure that we're not pretending that this virus just doesn't exist. I mean, we have to make safety a priority. I will say, though, that I do think there's a path to do that. If you look at Florida's outbreak, just think of all the people that were in Florida. January, February, Disney was going all the way till mid-March. We didn't have outbreaks tied to a lot of that stuff for whatever reason. Maybe it's because most of our activities are outdoors, and I think it's probably not as an efficient vector when you're outside in the sun as compared to close contact indoors. But and all these different people in these industries, part of my task force, and this isn't going to happen overnight, but they're all thinking about innovative ways to be able to do different things and do it safely. And we've seen that even on the basic level of, if you go drive by Home Depot now, they'll be 6 feet apart waiting to go in the store, and then they're doing it. So people are adapting and they're innovating. So I think that will happen. I don't think it's going to happen overnight. I think we're going to have to be measured and thoughtful. But I think that as people see that different things can happen safely, I think the confidence factor will go up. But clearly, financially, it's an issue for Florida, because anytime people come, they end up paying tax on that. I mean, you look at just the theme parks and the amount of the tax that they contribute to the state. Now, fortunately, we had billions of dollars in reserve, but even with that, you are facing a hit. There's just no doubt about it.
I think the fourth quarter is going to be really strong, and I think next year is going to be a tremendous year. That's what's building. That's my opinion. Third quarter is a transition quarter. Second quarter is what it is, but we're in this period where, let's see what the numbers are. Third quarter is transition. I think fourth quarter is going to be incredibly strong. I think next year is going to be an unbelievably strong year. Kevin and Larry, would you like to say something about that?
I'll just start with the CBO. Yeah, I'll just say, look, we know we're in a deep contraction with rising unemployment. It's a lot of hardships, a lot of difficulty. The president's rescue package, which really totals $9 trillion between the Treasury and the Fed, has helped to cushion that blow. So that's point number one. We'll take the hit. It's very bad, very difficult. We're doing what we can. As the governor said, as confidence returns with safety features and data-driven, people are anxious to go back to work. And it's interesting to me, the Congressional Budget Office, as well as Wall Street Journal survey of economists, both predicting very significant pickups in growth in the second half of the year, almost 20% growth increases. So that's a good sign. And the president has commissioned us to study middle-class tax relief, middle-class regulatory relief, infrastructure developments, insurance liability protections for small businesses. And again, middle class, I think people are anxious to go to work. There's going to be a lot of pent-up demand. And so I am optimistic about the future. This current situation, as my great friend and colleague Kevin has said, right in here, it is going to be the worst we've seen probably. But nonetheless, that will be temporary. I believe it passes. And that's what some of these surveys are telling us.
And Larry, I wanted a payroll tax cut. I thought that was the best thing, but the Democrats did not want to give it to us, so we went a different way, which is fine, but I wanted a payroll tax cut.
Both of us agree with you.
I think they should have done a payroll tax cut. So Democrats did not want a payroll tax cut, and I think that's a mistake.
Mr. President, Congress comes back next week. Let me try to ferret out the elephant in the room here, potentially, if there is an elephant in the room. What about the idea of aid to states? What do you think of this idea from Capitol Hill, Washington, sending money to individual states who may be suffering severely through lost revenues and picking up a lot of the tab here?
I think there's a big difference with a state that lost money because of COVID and a state that's been run very badly for 25 years. There's a big difference in my opinion. And, we'd have to talk about things like payroll tax cuts. We'd have to talk about things like sanctuary cities as an example. I think sanctuary cities is something that has to be brought up where people that are criminals are protected. They're protected from prosecution. I think that has to be done. I think it's one of the problems that
Careful now.
Hey, they drive better over there.
Alright, bud. That's it the afternoon, actually. There's that. Your T number's coming right up. 3804. 6841. 130. You're welcome. Afternoon, dude. Again. Huh, 90 miles, it still took that long? I don't believe that. Well, it's possible, I guess. Okay.
Dropping an 815.
Okie dokie. Thank you, sir. Hey, bud. Hey, is this the guy for H15?
Yeah, this is H right here.
Thanks, sir.
Bye.